I made this video yesterday and it took the sound off, so I'm going to say it again. Black people, stop watching traumatizing movies and documentaries. Do not watch The Perfect Neighbor. Don't, on Netflix. Don't do it. I told y'all years ago that I stopped watching slavery movies and civil rights movies, all these injustice movies for black folks. I stopped watching it. Here's the crazy part. You don't see the film industry making traumatizing videos for white people and all the pedophilia and incest that goes on in their family for generations, do you? Do you see them trying to re-traumatize people? No. Do you see all of the sad suicide stories of Asians and their children and all the injustice they've faced in the past? Not no more, really. Do you see them making videos about that? No, you don't.
Greetings everyone, welcome back to my channel once again. And before I continue, I will kindly request that you hit the like, subscribe and the share button, as this will go a long way in supporting my channel. Well, in today's episode I'll be talking about black trauma that has always been portrayed in the Hollywood movies. Well, this is another interesting topic and I will request that you watch the rest of this episode as I come with my commentary at the end of it.
Do you see them making all these traumatizing documentaries and remakes and videos and movies of Hispanics and how they be having alcoholism, DL and multiple families and all this crazy and abuse and all that in their households? No, you don't. No, you don't. Why is that? You will only see, for the most part, them making movies, documentaries, TV shows about our trauma. That's it. And we keep watching it. They're just harvesting our energy. I've been telling you that. Think about it. And this has gone back all the way to the beginning of the film industry. If it ain't civil rights, it's Jim Crow. If it ain't Jim Crow, it's slavery. If it ain't slavery, it's some modern day trauma. If it's not some modern day trauma, it's how they done threw all these black men in prison for stuff they didn't do and they still sitting there. If it ain't that, it's freaking anything else. I mean, it's Tyler Perry making all of these traumatizing movies especially for black women, over and over and over again. Do you think they would make it if we didn't watch it? So there's still some of us that have not caught on to what's going on here. So let me put y'all up on game. Stop watching it. They don't do nothing but rebrand it. When they see that we stopped watching slave movies, they said, okay, let's do civil rights. When they see that we kind of got tired of the civil rights mess, okay, let's do something like, like Rosewood, right? Slavery was over. That was before. Let's do some Jim Crow. Okay, that's not working anymore. Okay, let's do a documentary. Precious, right? Let's do that. Okay, that ain't working. All right, let's do Tyler Perry. You do it. Okay, he did it. Time and time again. They keep re-traumatizing us for a reason. And they're killing two birds with one stone. Not only are they re-traumatizing us and harvesting our energy, but they are also causing a divide between black people and everybody else. And not just that, it plants a seed of bitterness, hatred, divisiveness, bias, and whatever in our heart. Now, am I negating what everybody else been doing? No, I'm talking about us. We have to worry about ourselves, really. They have plants a seed of unforgiveness, hatred, so on and so forth in our hearts. And so when we go to work, we don't want to talk to our coworkers, right? People at the store, somebody could just be having a bad day, ain't got nothing to do with your color, and you like, oh, it's because I'm black. It probably is, but still. Sometimes it ain't. But you know what I'm saying? It really does alter your mind. Unfortunately. And then it causes a divide between men and women as well. Because a lot of these movies ain't even just about race. It causes divisiveness between black men and black women. Because in most of these traumatizing movies, they have the black men dogging black women out. Am I saying it's not true? Not saying that. But why do we need to keep seeing it? Why do we need to keep being re-traumatizing? re-traumatize that. They don't do that to nobody else. Nobody. I don't know one single Mexican movie, South American movie where it's just pure trauma. The whole thing. Now, there is some, I'm sure. But it is not nearly, there's probably 1,000,001 movies by other races as there are of traumatized movies to us. We gotta stop. It's not gonna lead us nowhere good.
Lupita Nyong'o recently did an interview talking about her Oscar win in 2014.
Get lead roles here and there. Oh, Lupita, we'd like to play another movie where you're a slave, but this time you're on a slave ship.
And how after that she kept getting offered roles that were predominantly about slaves and, with a twist in that they were slaves on a boat, stuff like that. And there's been a lot of discussion that I've seen from other TikTok creators about her career trajectory and how different it is compared to her white counterparts and why that is. But I want to talk about the fact that the industry is obsessed with slave stories and Black trauma. I wrote an article in 2021, so 4 years ago, about the fact that we need to move away from Black trauma films. And I feel like Lupita's experience with the industry after proving herself in this role to the point where she won the highest award that you can win as an actor, and still the industry only really wanted her to play these roles that showed Black women being traumatized and terrorized. And since then, she has had less roles compared to Jennifer Lawrence, compared to Margot Robbie. I think it's very telling that the industry, which the execs at these companies are predominantly white, and when it comes to making Black films, and I'm talking about films that center Blackness and Black stories and Black lives, they're more likely to make a Black film if it depicts Black people suffering, which is crazy. There have been so many films that have centered stories about slaves and are predominantly Black cast because it's about the time of slavery and escaping from slavery. And those stories are important. We do need to have the history of American slavery and what happened during that time, but it becomes an issue when it's only those type of stories, because Black people are not a monolith and there is more to Black history than slavery. But for some reason, the industry is more likely to create a Black trauma film, and then they award the people for those films, and then they make more of those films. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Of course, in recent years, we have had more films that aren't Black trauma, which has been a nice relief. But then you have to look at who has made these films. They clone Tyrone, Black director. The Woman King, Black director. Ry Lane, Black director. Creed 3, Black director. And then, of course, this year we had Sinners, Black director. A lot of these stories that are being made that don't center Black trauma are typically made by Black directors or predominantly Black or diverse creative teams. And there's a reason for that, because they know that there is more to Blackness than trauma and slavery and gangsters and all of these stereotypes. At the end of the day, I think that when the film calendar is only predominantly made up of slave films, that's where the issue lies. And then when you have an actress like Lupita, who has so much potential and is one of the best actresses out there, who's only really being offered roles that place her as a victim due to the color of her skin, that's an issue that the wider film industry needs to take a look at and think, why are we doing this? Black trauma films shouldn't be award bait, and at this point, that's exactly what they are.
Everyone loves watching Black people struggle, and clearly Hollywood is obsessed with Black trauma. But it wasn't always like this. In the 90s, we had a huge wave of Black comedies, romances, and everyday stories, and a handful of Black sitcoms telling the stories of everyday people, stories of joy, laughter, flaws, and full human lives. Those movies and series had a clear message: Black people can be anyone, not just survivors of trauma. And the movies were cool and fun, and they were for everyone. So what happened to all that Black joy from the 90s? In the late 2010s, the Hollywood enters the period of racial seriousness. Think about it. They had the Obama presidency, they had the rise of Black Lives Matter, Trayvon Martin, Ferguson, and Hollywood responded with a flood of black stories focused almost exclusively on trauma and struggle. Major studios suddenly developed an appetite for black suffering, as if joy, love, laughter are not real black experiences. This era gave us critically acclaimed but emotionally exhausting works. Important stories? Absolutely. But where was the counterbalance? Studios realized there was profit in pain, but we might be witnessing a slow shift. The industry doesn't need more guilt. It needs more vision. We do need stories about struggle, but we also need the stories about everything else, where black characters are just allowed to exist, fall in love, solve mysteries, fight aliens, be ordinary or extraordinary, just as everyone gets to be. Because the true equality in storytelling is not just about who gets to be in a story, but it's about what stories they get to be in.
Black people in general, cuz we sell trauma. Every hot movie, every TV show for the majority. That's why Atlanta was so fucking important. And it has traumatic elements, but it's not just straight up, nigga, my life is trash. 12 Years a Slave, Nat Turner movie, Django, Moonlight. Let's keep it going. We can all name one right now. For black people, the black business is trauma. That's what we got. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, all these other shows, they having a good time. It's reality TV just chilling. We can't even have reality TV where niggas ain't trying to squabble. We selling trauma. So you expect a nigga to not perpetuate that when they trying to get out of a situation that you tell them that they ain't shit until they get out of it. Until a nigga got money, bro, majority of the time, the way we look at it, and I'm talking for the consensus, not everybody. The majority of people, just from what I've seen, is until you got some money, you ain't shit. Funny thing about it is niggas are so stupid, niggas don't know where they come from and don't know we made everything.
This is probably going to be one of the hardest videos I've had to do while being part of TikTok, but I feel so compelled to do this today, and I'm being a brave girl because we need to talk about this. So another content creator was speaking about the Amazon Prime TV show Them, which spurred me on to talk about this, and I didn't want to stitch the video. I was going to, but I thought, no, I won't do it because I just want you to hear what I'm saying. So let's talk all about the use of black trauma in TV and horror films. So I will be using Them as an example while I'm talking about trauma corn and black trauma in horror films and just TV shows, because I think I got to like maybe the 3rd episode with Them, and then I was like, okay, I need to stop watching this because I'm actually going to traumatize myself. I think if you take away the black experience from this show, just in general, the show is just not good. The writing's not good. They really relied on those Jordan Peele-isms to try to get certain cinematography and certain shots across to make it kind of Jordan Peele-esque, and that really failed. So if you don't know this handsome looking devil, this suave gentleman above me, this of course is Jordan Peele. And he's done loads of projects. He redid the Twilight Zone, but most notably, of course, he did Us, Nope and Get Out. And those films are really good in highlighting the black experience, but not having these characters be completely two-dimensional and just there because they're black. He made worlds and different stories that wasn't just based on black people, it was based on different situations that black people just had to be in. Not obviously including Get Out, but I mean Nope and Us. These were the situations that black people were in, and no matter what your race is, you can enjoy and like these films, right? And in doing that, we had a lot of copycats, a lot of films and TV shows that wanted to kind of like piggyback off that whole Jordan Peele-esque universe and tried to make their own. And that's where I think we had Them. So just to touch on Them really quickly, we focus on a black family that moves to North Carolina to an all-white neighborhood and basically goes through the racism that they deal with being a part of that white neighborhood. So what we have is this family that obviously goes through all these traumatic racist episodes and just racist things happening to them, but more importantly, the family themselves are just so two-dimensional and linear. I don't even think you get to see the mom like leave the house or anything. It's all, they are just strictly there to be traumatized, demonized, and to go through these racist experiences. When you use something historically that has happened and is happening in this world, and you reflect it back to the audience and you say, this is the big bad, this is the fear, this is the horror element of the TV show or the film you're watching, that is trauma, and you are feeling uncomfortable because of the trauma that's being reflected to you on the screen. That is trauma corn and torture corn to me. And when you put that against a show like Lovecraft Country, where yes, it's based on historical racism, but these characters aren't linear. They have their own character arcs, they have their own character stories, and they're not just there to be traumatized. Other things happen to them, they're not just their trauma. There was multiple articles done about them and how them was really traumatic, and just people like, what the fuck is this? Who the fuck is this for? And there's some of them here. You can also see some other ones here too. The thing about TV shows and films like Antebellum, The Strays, and them is that they perpetuate negative stereotypes about the black community, and that's always rooted in pain and suffering. Then they regurgitate them back to us and they're like, hey, this is for you guys. I don't want to watch that, and a lot of other people don't as well. This just kind of goes to the awesomeness and the intelligence of Jordan Peele, that he's creating these worlds that aren't just based and rooted on black trauma, that everybody can enjoy and everyone can understand, but then he also does put in some subtleties that the black community will understand. And it's really, really weird that we see people of all races trying to capitalize on that style of filmmaking. Like, yeah, here we go. And that's where we get things like Antebellum and them. Like, literally. I don't want this video to be too long, and I think I've got my point across, but this has taken a lot of confidence for me to like say. So if you enjoy content like this, please follow along, and if you do want to say something in the comments, please freaking do, but just be really, really kind, because I don't want anyone to be traumatized or upset, especially me. So please just be kind in the comments, and of course follow for everything horror.
The black trauma movie role to paper skin penetration pipeline needs to be studied more. My name is Brother Legend, and I'm here to raise your consciousness. I mean, y'all don't find it suspicious that people that are willing to portray black people in roles where the main character is oppressed and run down because of systems created by white tea men also seem to run to white tea men in their personal lives? I mean, sis, you did a whole movie about the effects of systemic oppression, and now the first thing you run to in your private life is the people that perpetuated it in the first place? And she's not the only one. Because what is this? Queen and Slim? This ruined the whole movie for me. I mean, I understand it's just a movie role and it's not really them. But if the message you want to resonate with black people is black love despite oppression, then in order to not look like a vulture like Drake, you gotta practice what you preach a little bit. I mean, how you gonna go from Wakanda Forever to Brad and Trevor? What's worse about her situation is she actually played in a movie, 12 Years a Slave, where she was actually R-worded by a white tea man. I mean, if the contradiction is that blatant in your personal values, you should not be casting roles that are meant to uplift the black community.
Well, if you've watched to this end, thank you once again, and let's get down to this. Black trauma. Well, when you talk about this, for any black individual, at least we have idea what I'm talking about. Well, black trauma is a term used to explain or to describe the collective intergenerational trauma that has been experienced by black individuals, hence leading them to be affected mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and also socially. And this black trauma has been propagated by factors such as racism, systemic racism, colonialism, prejudice, discrimination, colorism, among other factors that tend to be inhumane towards black individuals. And when talking about the Hollywood movies and the black trauma theme that is commonly being portrayed in movies, where we get to see that black actors are involved, you get to understand that this has been a common theme and tactic that has always been portrayed by Hollywood, which I will describe as being an Oscar's bait, as you'll notice that black movies that portray slavery, suffering, inhumane conditions being experienced by black individuals, colonialism, racism, among other instances or other movie settings that depict black individuals as suffering, have always won awards in the movie sector. And in this, we are getting now to analyze why this black trauma is being mostly enjoyed by Hollywood, and how are black individuals actually feeling about it. Well, if you watch the rest of this episode, you'll notice that different people have different opinions about this, and especially from the black community, they have learned a pattern that Hollywood setting is using, that is by exploiting the black trauma for their own convenience and profit. And for instance, you'll notice that in these famous black movies like 12 Years a Slave, Root, Django Unchained, the common theme in these movies is suffering and slavery. And you'll notice that these movies were actually blockbusters. They managed to hit, that is, in theaters after their release, and by doing so, everyone celebrated about the black individuals pain and trauma actually being portrayed and shown out there to the world. And it was mostly celebrated until people sat down and started analyzing these movies. What is the main theme? What is the main function of releasing these movies that still encourage black trauma? And in this episode, you've seen that finally people are coming into light and they have noticed that Hollywood has used this black trauma as a source of benefit for themselves. And it's never in the interest of the black individuals. As for most black individuals who have watched these movies, what comes to their mind is the trauma that was experienced, that is intergenerational, that is trauma from their ancestors, and also trauma from what some of them or all of them actually have experienced. As you notice that in these movies there are some themes that are still relevant to this day, and that systemic racism is still deep entrenched in the United States, and no black individual or person of color is totally free from having these experiences whereby they've been made to feel like they are lesser individuals solely based on their skin color. And now for Hollywood, they have taken this theme and run with it, and you've seen that there have been several movies produced to portray the black trauma and suffering, and actually there is a reason behind it. For instance, you notice that in movies that black trauma is not being emphasized and there are black individuals, you notice that in most cases it's the black individual who will die first, or in other movies you'll get the black individual being a facilitator or someone who encourages the antagonist, who in most cases is usually white, and you'll see that these black individuals are given lesser roles and are not widely identified or recognized for their roles that they are playing in these films. And well, this again has an impact as you get to see the psychological conditioning happening in these movies. And for most individuals who are watching these movies for the first time, especially individuals who have not lived or experienced life with black individuals, they usually get this picture that black individuals are used to the black trauma and suffering, and they're usually volatile and highly aggressive and are more prone to get involved in crime activities. And you'll notice that once an individual has been conditioned to have that kind of thinking related towards black individuals, the black trauma, that is the stress, suffering, and the prejudice that has been experienced by the black individuals, becomes normalized. And when such cases happen in real life, where we get to see black individuals actually suffering, you'll notice that their stories are not covered or given much emphasis. And this is mainly due to the psychological conditioning that everyone has been given through watching these movies, that suffering for a black man is a normal thing, which is quite disturbing. And you'll notice that for most Hollywood movies that are related to black people, the main theme there is suffering, survival, crime, violence, among other quite disturbing experiences. Meanwhile, for the white individuals, you get to see that their movies are mostly related to sci-fi, futuristic events, romance, and movies related to issues dealing with escapism, whereby you get to see that the white individuals are always portrayed to be heroes and strong individuals who tend to overcome challenges that they face. But for the black individual, the picture is always negative, and you get to see this in turns gets to reinforce the black trauma that the black individuals are actually going through. But actually, this is not the end of it. We're getting to see that there are also black producers who are coming out to fight this narrative that has always been pushed by Hollywood, and we're getting to see the black producers producing movies that don't entirely focus on the suffering of the black individuals. A good example is the Black Panther movie, where we're getting to see that black individuals are being portrayed being futuristic, living in an advanced technology era, whereby they are using their advanced knowledge to save the world. This is something that is very uncommon in the Hollywood setting, and actually you're getting to see black producers coming out there to change the narrative. So this generally means that there's still hope, and with due time, we're going to see a time that black movies will be produced whereby the main theme will be hope, romance, and advancement of the black people. Well, this marks the end of this episode once again. Kindly don't forget to hit the like, share, and the subscribe button as I mentioned before. Thank you once again, and see you in the next one.